presenting Group Captain Nitin Welde.
Lower one first. Many years back, parachuting exercise at Para Training School of the Indian Air Force. Otherwise, you will never tread on those unknown territories. करके देखते हैं क्या होगा. कोच के साथ होश भी होना चाहिए. वो क्या बोलेंगे फिर वो क्या बोलेंगे.
A little bit about your transition into the civil world, right? After you left, there are a host of things that you got involved in. How was your transition? And was there anything that you needed to learn, unlearn, learn, relearn, something that you could share with us?
So, I made in my own mind, my transition was there a couple of years earlier than I actually left service. And there were various reasons, one being stability of place, spouse's aspiration, children's education, and having a second career, all that was there. So when I made up my mind, I was actually wondering and I was observing what could be the problem areas for any veteran to have a smooth transition. And one of the areas I thought was, we keep saying it, that I don't carry any baggage. But again, from a space of behavioral science, it's very, very difficult not to carry a baggage. It's easier said than done. You know it.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's a nice way to say I don't carry my baggage. But then I said, how do I actually use this phrase, I don't have any baggage, in my daily life? And when I left service in 2016, it's been 5 years, I started to interact with people. My first visiting card, Aparna, I don't know where it is now. Even today, my visiting card, my LinkedIn, my Twitter handle doesn't have Group Captain Welde. Because I wanted people to interact with Nitin Welde, who's spent 23 years in the Air Force, who's learned a phenomenal amount of things from the Air Force. He is what he is because of the Air Force. But there is a somebody behind that. There is a Nautang, there is an improv artist, there is a baker, there is a cyclist, there is a outbound facilitator. There are so many aspects to this whole Nitin Welde. And if I can interact with each person whom I meet, leaving aside my thing, I think I thought that people will accept me. And that's exactly what happened. I got, after about 3 years, I got a very good, you can say, a feedback from a good friend who became a good friend later on. He said, a lot of Foggies come out and they will start to compare all the time. This is from an outbound training institute. I'm a part of a very well-known outbound training, setup called as High Places. That's at Garudmachi, one of the pioneers in outbound training. So a friend there said that, he and them, they have seen a lot of Foggies coming out because Foggies essentially quickly adapt to the outbound training pattern. Every time there's a comparison. फौज में ऐसा होता था सिविल में ऐसा होता है फौज में ऐसा होता था सिविल में ऐसा होता है he says that actually makes us a little bit restrictive in listening to your stories because it comes from a position of let me give you some gyan about how organizations or how civilians have to work. He said, Nitin, the beauty about you happened that you became one of us. So in a typical Puneri concept, you became one of the Katta members. You started becoming one of us, and because you became one of us, we are more than happy to listen to your stories, which don't come from a Dan point of view, but a fun point of view, a learning point of view, a realistic, natural way of maybe my storytelling. And that struck me quite a bit because I said, yes, that's making some sense. So in my case, the transition was, I didn't have any problem whatsoever because I keep saying this, that I can carry the contents of the bag, but not the baggage. So, I go to various places, they will misspell, they will say my Mr. Group Captain, Mr. And then they'll feel bad about it because they're not doing it intentionally. Which I say is fine, as long as you realize, and maybe in the next person you invite after a year, you will be slightly more careful. But I am not one of those who would be very nitpicky about saying, oh, no, you have to call me this by rhyme, because most people don't know. It is not that they do it intentionally.
True.
So all these interactions that I have done so far, when in Romans, we have to adapt to that style, take certain things, and then slowly be a part of the system, and if whatever you can improve. So honestly speaking, I have not yet understood the concept of civilians and Foggies. That's something that I have always been saying it in open forums. I'm a civilian. My father was a civilian. My brother's a civilian. My friends are civilians. So this whole thing of civilians don't know how to behave, that doesn't gel well with me.
Okay.
Because as a career coach, I've seen that every aspect that you do in armed forces is done in any other domain as well. Maybe it's bravery, maybe it's courageous decision making, maybe it's team building, whatever it is. So I don't really have that. When people say क्या हम सियाचिन में सर्व कर सकते हैं, हम सब कर सकते हैं, मेरे हिसाब से हम सब सियाचिन में सर्व कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि it is not me who serves in Siachen, it is the environment which ensures that each one of us perform.
True.
So yeah, the transition hasn't been difficult for me, but I do see a lot of people having a lot of issues.
Right. And that's what prompted me to ask you. And frankly, I did not know that you were in Air Force until we got connected on Twitter. Before that, you were just a coach and we are part of the same organization. That's all I know. It was refreshing to see your flights, especially, now that you're flying and you share those wonderful images, and that's what prompted me. And I'm very happy that you are at the space that you are. What is the future?
One thing I just wanted to share with you, like you said, and I'm so happy that you made this comment that you didn't know, and that's so. I picked up facilitation, and then further I picked up coaching because I loved and I challenged myself when I left service. I came from a very structured environment of teaching and learning the armed forces for whatever reasons, and it was more of I'm on this side of the dais and I will say something, and this is my career been, and this is my exposure, and you guys are now going to so-called listen to me. When I got into the other IF from Indian Air Force, when I saw International Association of Facilitators, I realized that adult learning is such a different concept than what probably we do in the defense. It is an extremely different, and especially when it comes to behavioral understanding of topics like leadership, negotiation, decision making. Not the technical topics of physics, chemistry, because they are 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. And when I started to practice that in my last tenure in Military Institute of Technology, where I used to do some interactions on topics such as leadership and decision making, I realized that this whole thing of holding of space, and then I got deeper into it, holding of space, safe space. What does it mean to just be there and not keep, giving your gun all the time? That's a motivational speaker. And when somebody explained to me that, we should be, I understood how our group process facilitation is, where coaching is. I said, I would love to have transition from a motivational speaker to a coach where, 80% of the time the coach keeps quiet. While in a motivational speaking interaction, 99% the speaker speaks. So that transition was very important, and I am so kicked up about that I can do that kind of transition, and that's what is interesting for me.
Right. So, what about your future? So, this is where you're going to be, or is there any other plans that you have?
I'll tell you what, and that is where I personally, and this is I'm absolutely sharing it honestly with you. I love to do mid-career conversations because I went through a mid-career transition when I thought I will do only this. And this is what I will be now presenting myself to the world. I tried my hand at it, and then there were challenges in terms of stability of income. I did my own disk analysis, I did my own MBTI, I did my own whole lot of interaction with people, and I understood a lot of self-awareness came to me and said, look, for you, this is what matters. Just don't think that somebody else is doing so you can do it. Then I slowly developed my own ideas about spending time. And now I say that, typically in the Indian context and surely the Fauji context, we always look at either or. You are this or that, this or that. And I started to realize that actually, no, each one of us is and.
Yeah.
So I have this whole analogy when I do coaching saying, you have a pizza, you make slices of it, you put the topping, you decide how many degrees of each of those pizzas you want. You want work to be 30%, 30 degrees cone, up to you. You want to be a cycling champ thereafter, you want to be an improv artist, you want to be a guitar player, up to you. So at the present, in my role from being a professional pilot, a group process facilitator, I take interest in that. That keeps me going. Social media engagements on Twitter and LinkedIn, that keep me going. This kind of talks keep me going. Motivational speeches keep me going. Coaching is something that I've just got hooked onto it. Due to paucity of time, I'm not doing it as much as I would love to. So yeah, life is good, and I really don't know where it will all end up. But I'm also quite excited about doing all of this and still maintaining So to be honest with you, the bread and butter coming from my primary profession, the jam and the pickle and all can come from somewhere else.
Wonderful.
Saying it when it comes to leadership, it's a wonderful game when you are in it. There are no fixed parameters. There are no fixed guidelines. You will have to evolve your personality traits, your leadership style, and leadership to a large extent is a game of is a contact sport. And when I say contact, it's a contact with problem, contact with people, contact with products. It's a continuous engagement game. So if you want to be a good leader, you cannot run away from engagements. And if you become too oversensitive, then you would be actually over evaluating yourself. So my only advice to young leaders is that just keep moving on. And the man on the controls is the final. Somebody has thought in their own wisdom that you possess those qualities, have that confidence. People will be there who will be, asking questions. Everybody likes to sit on a fence and क्यों नहीं हुआ या क्यों हुआ दोनों तरफ से होता है. But you got to go with your own grain, I would say.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much for your time and the words of wisdom that you shared with me and with all of us.
Pleasure speaking to you, Aparna, and always lovely interacting with people like you on such forums, because it also gets away, to be honest with you, it's something you can take away the non-defense method. Imagine this conversation having only about the Siachen, that I've spoken, but it's also, you could see that I'm very excited to talk on these issues, because they really bring a lot of energy in me and they keep going. So thank you for inviting me.
My pleasure. My pleasure.